Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So I'm just going to give you a quick view of some small detail updates I've done to the Rooming House Dollhouse. I mentioned in our video before that I was going to be trimming out the windows in the girls' room, and I did. And when I finished trimming the windows, I noticed a gap at the threshold and alongside the door frame of the girls' bedroom. And I realized, yes, that's going to have to be fixed. So I grabbed a few of the coffee stir sticks and began to add them along the door frame. They're really nice and thin, and they'll fit really flush against the wall. Now, another thing I noticed while I was working on the door and the threshold area was that I see gaps again at the baseboard level. I got my light and shined it, and yes, I can see the wallpaper down at the bottom of the baseboard. And I realized that after I finish working on that door, I'm going to have to putty those gaps. So these are the type of things that come up when you're working on a dollhouse, like I said, regardless to whether you made it, bought it already made, or if it's vintage, you're going to have to fix things. So while the door was drying, I worked on the threshold to make sure that was right. So I added, I think about three layers of the coffee stir sticks to that area. I did not use putty because the gap was too big, and I wanted to make the floor template level with make the threshold portion the same level as the door template. So I did between 3 and 4 layers of the coffee stir sticks. It may be different in your instance depending on how thick your threshold area is, but it worked out. I added it. It was really good. It matched the door frame, and I just pressed it in a little bit with my needle tool to make sure it's set right. Now for the baseboards, I did use the putty technique. I didn't go into a lot of detail of me doing it. I did a really quick view of it. If you want to see more of that technique, check out my video for the updates for the nursery and the girls' room. So now the putty is drying, and I'm just wiping up things to make sure none of the putty is actually on the floor area. And that's looking good. I decided to sweep out the windows to get all the sawdust from when I was cutting and trimming out the windows. And I kept looking at those baseboards, and I decided they needed a little bit of stain. So dolls, although I'm doing this, it is not a best practice to add stain while your baseboards are installed next to your wallpaper, because you could risk ruining or damaging your wallpaper. In my case, it's not a problem because I have an old rooming house, but that's not what you would want to do. And this was the moment the dolls came in and they wanted to sweep, so I gave them a minute. Now after the stain kind of soaked in, I wiped away the excess, just cleaning up around the edges of the wall. And then I decided that, yeah, I think it actually needs more stain, because I decided from a distance that dark area would look as though it was a portion of the baseboard. So yeah, I just went with it. And when it was done, I really liked the way it looked. And keep in mind, dolls, it's your project. I wasn't satisfied until I was satisfied. Work on it until you like it. Now the door frame is dried, the trim is done, and that floor, the threshold area, is looking really good. I'm really feeling good about the overall look of the girls' room. The gaps are complete. The door frame is done. I'm really, really satisfied with how this turned out. And just looking at the floor, and I really like everything. And yeah, I'm going through a moment, dolls. I decided the floors needed some distressing. So I got some acetone and put it on some inexpensive Q-tips, and just began to rub away certain areas to give it a more worn look. And I continued to look at it and wipe it and rub different areas depending on how I thought maybe the floors would have been worn. areas where the beds had been moved around, areas around under the windows, areas in front of the door. So I just had to use my imagination to decide where the wear would have taken place. I laughed to myself. Some people call this shabby chic. Where I come from, it's just called shabby. But in the Rooming House Dollhouse, shabby is okay, as long as it's clean. So I continued to stand back and look and examine the girls' room, and then I started to look up closer to see how things looked close up. I really liked the pattern of the wallpaper, and I looked at the windows. I'm really pleased with how that turned out as well. So I feel really satisfied. Now I can move on. Keep in mind, dolls, you have to be happy with your dollhouse and the things that you make. You're not looking for perfection. You want it to be pretty. And if it's pretty to you and you like it, then that's all that matters. Don't let anyone tell you what you make is not good enough, because it is. Now look at everything all together. I've got the girls' window shades up and I've put the beds back in the room. Oh, I think it looks so pretty. I am so excited. Everything is dried around the door and the threshold. The floor is weathered. Yeah, everything is looking really, really good. I'm very pleased with the overall look of the girls' room. And just another quick glance at that floor. See, it looks good. It looks shabby, but it doesn't look bad. It just looks a little worn. And that's perfect for their room. So I guess I'll have to make curtains for their room as well. But let's look at one of the other bedrooms and see how it looks. Now this is the bedroom on the other side. I added the shades to that room again. And if you don't remember, dolls, this is the room that has the ladder in the ceiling. And if you haven't seen that video, definitely check that out. That's in my playlist. And this is the gentleman's room. It's on the other side of the back hallway on the dormer side of the dollhouse. So if you haven't seen those videos when I was working on that portion of the house, definitely check it out. I definitely have to do some more decorating, but it's coming along really nicely. I love that rug in that hallway. So let's move on to our next project. So here I stared at the cafe door on the outside for a really long time because I was considering the curtains for this room, but I wasn't satisfied with the look of the doorway. So I remembered a couple years ago, I bought stained glass windows for the original dollhouse, and they have little peacocks on them. And as a gift, the maker gave me 2 extra windows. And so I thought maybe I would put those on the cafe door to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I couldn't decide exactly how to put it in. I knew I would have to trim it, but I was concerned about the rounded arched area on the cafe window. And dolls, this is another instance where I'm showing you I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do or how I was going to do it. I had to play with it a little while. And so while I was playing, I decided to age the door again to brighten it up and to make it look more worn and stained than it originally was. So when in doubt, go age something. It always works to help with your thought process. And after I aged it and stained it a little bit more, some ideas began to come to me. I decided to make a template to the shape of the archway, which really helped me a lot. I cut it in half and then doubled the half to make sure both of the sides were uniform. And then that gave me a template to cut out and shape the cling. I had to do a little cutting and splicing and lining things up, but I was able to make a complete window for the Rooming House Cafe door. It looks so much more interesting than it did before. And that's kind of a close-up and a quick peek inside the cafe there. But I did add wood trim to divide the 2 different types of stained glass pattern. I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. I do think I'm going to do a little bit more work on that door, but right now I'm feeling good about it. And I added the extra strip of the border to the top of the window, so they'll have a little bit of similarity between the 2 designs To me, that's really starting to look like a little quaint restaurant door, speakeasy, or kind of a pub-like feeling. Yeah, I'm really liking that. And I guess I got to make more curtains, huh? Yeah, I definitely think curtains are not only going to dress up the windows, but it'll make it where you'll be able to actually see the stained glass pattern because without something behind it, it's almost undetectable. So yeah, I'll have to put that on my list of things to do. If you enjoyed this video today, definitely let me know in the comments and also check out the rest of my playlist. I have quite a few videos regarding the Rooming House Dollhouse and other projects I've done. Definitely like, share, and subscribe. And always look for me on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I always upload on Mondays and Wednesdays. It sure has been nice spending this time with you dolls today. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Take care now, dolls. Bye-bye.